Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D. That's right, it's now a Nintendo Select, and I was looking for a good platformer on my 3DS after the terrible New Super Mario Bros. 2. But before I get into the actual game, let me give you a bit of a history lesson. So, I never actually owned any of the original Donkey Kong Country games. I beat Donkey Kong 64 and Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, but never really got into the old trilogy because I figured, you know what, the newer games are so much better. So this was the first official Donkey Kong game that I played all the way through, and I'm including the Wii version in this because boy did I revere that version when it came out. Pretty much that game was untouchable. The graphics were phenomenal. The music was phenomenal. The controls, even with the Waggle Fest and everything, was phenomenal. The only part I really didn't like about the game was the Super Guide, which was already annoying enough in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and then they made it even more annoying. But I'll get into that in my review later. So, my excuse for getting it on the 3DS was, like I said, I wanted some solid platforming on my 3DS. But you're probably asking, Paul, is it worth a repurchase if you already own the Wii version? I would probably say no. But if you're playing this game for the first time, let me tell you what's changed and what's different. So right off the bat, you're given two control options. Either original game, which basically makes this game a 3DS port of the Wii original, or new game, where you have 3 hearts instead of 2, and there's a couple of new items in Cranky Kong's shop that'll help you through these brutally difficult levels. Regardless, no matter which mode you choose, there are a few subtle differences between the two versions. For instance, the whole game has stereoscopic 3D, which doesn't the game doesn't do anything mind-blowing with it, but on the other hand, it's not used terribly either. It does get a bit inconvenient in the later levels, and it took a bit of getting used to in the first couple levels because I was so used to shaking the Wii remote in the Wii version that I would sometimes shake the 3DS and that would ruin the 3D effect and make the level harder than it should have been. Also, I've been told that the frame rate is twice as slow on the 3DS, but it didn't bother me a bit when I played this remake. Let me remind you, I revered the original Donkey Kong Country Returns, so no complaints about the frame rate is saying something. And you also get 8 additional levels that they're not mind-blowingly awesome, but they do a good job of capturing the essence of Returns, making them a lot more fun overall because I mean, yeah, most of them are just reskins and remasterings of levels that were already in the original game, but you don't have to collect the Kong letters. So as a result, they're a lot more enjoyable because you're not constantly searching around and you can enjoy them simply as levels. So now, getting back to the original game, what's so good about it? Well, first off, one can easily make comparisons to the new Super Mario Bros. Series because, like that game, this is a left-to-right platformer that involves a lot of jumping, and there is an end flag, or barrel, since it's a Donkey Kong Country game, that clearly marks the end of every single level. There were 8 worlds in the original, now there's 9 in the remake, and at the end of every world except the final one, there is a boss battle. So, you've heard most of this before. What makes this game different from Mario? First off, the way Donkey Kong controls is extremely different. Mario is known for being extremely light and very kind of floaty when he jumps. Donkey Kong, you can clearly tell that he's a big, bulky ape. In fact, even when you just do a normal jump, you can feel the ground tremor when he hits it. He has pounding, blowing, which can be used to like blow dandelion puffs to reveal hidden things. You can roll, which can be used to slide into enemies in your way. And you can even do like a rolling jump if you want to do the long jump from Mario, which can be used in quite a few tricky situations. This game also has a lot more to collect than a Mario game. Now, if some of you are thinking, oh no, Paul, that was one of Donkey Kong Country, or Donkey Kong 64's big downfalls, worry not. The collectibles here are mostly kind of just rehashes of what they were in New Super Mario Brothers, but that's not a bad thing. You got bananas, collecting 100 of them will give you an extra life. You've got balloons that are extra lives to replace the one at Mushroom. But then you also have banana coins, which you can spend at Cranky's shop in case you're having a hard time. And then there's also Kong letters, like K-O-N-G, in each level that collect all of them in every level of a world, and then you get a secret temple level, which is super tough and has no checkpoints. And then there's also puzzle pieces, which unlock like trophies, illustrations, and movies, which honestly are kind of cool, but not really worth the trouble. And then if you beat all of the temples, then you can unlock the secret golden temple, which in the Wii version, that was the last level of the game. Thankfully, in this version, you have 8 other levels before it in the new Cloud World. So what are some of the great things about this game, you might be wondering? Well, first off, the sense of rhythm is really incredible. I mean, yeah, there's an entire level that's based on rhythm, even by the name, but the way that Donkey Kong fluidly jumps from enemy to enemy and the incredible way in which he handles, again, Mario fans might take some getting used to, but overall, I found jumping between platforms to be a blast. I especially loved levels that involved grabbing onto things like vines or vine-covered surfaces, because the controls just flowed so smoothly. Bouncing, again, levels that involved bouncing were always a blast. But, like every Donkey Kong Country game, there are also minecart levels. Not only are there ones where both Donkey Kong and the minecart jump, but you also have levels where he can jump out of the minecart and into a new one. Or those notoriously hard rocket barrel levels, where you press the A button to move up, do nothing to move down, you hit anything once, you're toast. Boy, did those levels make me want to throw my controller against the TV a few times. Or in this case, break my 3DS for the portable version. Overall, the levels were a blast, and none of them recycled concepts. Every level has a name, unlike the Mario series, and there's always something new to discover. You never feel like it's a rehash. Like, one level you might be chased down by a bunch of bugs the whole level. Another level you might have a bunch of, like, rotating hands that you have to use as platforms. Another you might have a tidal wave that you constantly have to find cover from. The game is fresh all the way through, and nothing ever gets stale or overused. Yes, some of the boss battles tend to be a bit on the repetitive and overused side, but even they're not that bad compared to most mediocre boss attempts I've seen in platformers. But let me get to the ugly, and that is the Super Guide. Now, this is a very tough game. Now, granted, all Donkey Kong games are really hard, but this one just really ups the ante. Like, you are going to die a lot. Get used to seeing that you lost a life screen. So, apparently, if you die too many times, this pig appears and he starts waving this white flag. And if you press the start button while next to him, which is basically at every checkpoint, they offer to play the level for you, and then you can take control of Donkey Kong whenever you want. After you're like, okay, you've gotten me past the tough part, I'm good. But on the other hand, it won't collect any of the Kong letters or the puzzle pieces for you, which I found to be super annoying, because most of the time when I died playing through this game was trying to get the puzzle pieces and the Kong letters. So essentially the game was saying, you stink at this level, let me try to beat it for you. But wait, I'm not going to get the very thing that you keep dying to get. What? That's messed up. I would have appreciated it if maybe they had given you the option to turn the Super Guide off altogether. Like, if you're a veteran player, you can just say, no worries, don't make this thing appear at all. But alas, you have to be told you stink every single time you restart the level. Even worse, the game only saves Kong letters that you've collected up to the checkpoint. So say you collect the N, and then you die before you can get the G. Then you'll have to collect the N all over again. The puzzle pieces, on the other hand, they save as long as you don't exit the level. Why can't the Kong letters be the same way? Why do you have to keep recollecting? It just frustrates the heck out of me. And then there's the bonus levels, which are kind of on the random side and involve collecting as many bananas as you can. It's immensely frustrating that you can't retry them unless you either die or restart the level, which again is a nuisance because I've always been the type of guy that really likes smooth saving systems. And even though this game has an autosave, it's a mixed bag when it comes to being a handheld experience. Yes, most of the levels are really short, so you can easily breeze through one if you don't have much time to play. But on the other hand, if, say, you're having a really tough time with a level and you think, maybe I could use an item, you have to get out of the level entirely and then restart from the beginning just to use it, instead of just being able to use it at a checkpoint, which really stinks. It stinks even more if your partner Diddy, which I didn't mention earlier, can climb on Donkey Kong's back and like make all of his moves better. Like you can roll infinitely, and you can also hover, which is really helpful when you're trying to make long jumps. But Diddy will die if you lose too many hearts, so you gotta try to keep your nephew alive, right? So yeah, if you get to a checkpoint and Diddy's nowhere to be found, the only way to get him back would be either to restart the level to find him again, or go into the level in the first place with one of the helper items. And that's what I'm getting to in a minute. So, I've been saying this review that Cranky Kong, which is Donkey Kong's dad, by the way, sets up this shop that has a bunch of items that you can activate before the level starts to sort of give you an edge. Unlike the Wii version, you can now equip up to 3 items at a time, including 3 of the same item if you really want overkill. And the ones returning from returns are, you can buy extra lives if you want, you can buy a key which unlocks a secret level in the world map. I mean, why couldn't they just give you like a hidden pathway or something, like in Super Mario World? Why do you need to spend a couple of coins? You can get coins like everywhere. I had like over 100 before I even finished the first world, to put that into perspective. Then you can also get the parrot, which helps you find puzzle pieces. Banana juice, which gives you way more hits. I call it a heart container because that's pretty much what it is. It gives you an extra heart. And I think that's about it from the Wii version. If you play in new mode, you get the Crash Guard, which actually lets you take a few hits in minecart and rocket barrel levels. The green balloon, which lets you recover if you fall into a pit. The spare Diddy barrel, which basically lets you have Diddy right away. And I think I covered all of them. Suffice to say that I used none of the new items. I bought all of them, just in case, but I didn't end up using them. I was tempted to a few times, but I said, you know what? I had to beat this using only the banana juice and extra heart in the Wii version. I'm gonna beat this properly. And I did. I did end up having to use the banana juice and the heart piece, but I never used any of the new items, although I welcome their addition because, boy, did Return seem like such a tough game. Although I'm not ashamed to admit that I was outraged when this version came out. I said, why didn't you just make this on the Wii to begin with? Would have saved me so many frustrating hours of this level. So, apparently this game also has a multiplayer mode. Now, I tried it on the Wii version, didn't get a chance on the 3DS because I don't really know anyone else who owns this game. And there's no Wi-Fi option, so I can't just play with anyone. But I found the Wii version's multiplayer to be incredibly lacking. First off, it is kind of cool that the screen like spreads out to show both Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, but only player 2 can play as Diddy, and he gets the added benefit of shooting peanuts like he did in Donkey Kong 64, which makes Donkey Kong feel kind of useless in comparison. Also, you can only play as Diddy in multiplayer mode, not in single player mode, which feels kind of like a missed opportunity, because Diddy got his own game in Donkey Kong Country 2. Why couldn't he have done that here? However, the problem with multiplayer is that the game simply wasn't designed for it. Not only do you share the same pool of lives, but you also have the same restrictions that you did in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, meaning if your partner can't keep up, admittedly, they do, like, sort of back to your side, but if they die, then they sort of float in a barrel and have to quickly get back to you. But if you're in a really hard level, that might make it even harder, because these levels are much harder than Mario levels and require a lot of precise jumping and doing everything at exactly the right time. You really don't have much room for error in these levels. So, if you're a platforming guru, I'd say give multiplayer a try. If you're not, the single player mode is definitely the way to go. As far as replayability, this game has lots of it. Like I said, there's a lot to collect. There's a lot of levels. Like I said, 8 more in the 3DS version. And boy, is that final Golden Temple a treat. Like, literally and figuratively. And contains a spectacular remake of the main themes in Donkey Kong Jr. So, it's definitely worth getting all of the temple orbs. Although, if the temples are too hard, I've been told that you can just buy the temple orbs. Which I guess that's kind of cool. Those temples are insanely tough, but I've decided to beat them anyway. Because who wants to do things the easy way, right? So, overall, I liked Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D. I liked being able to have one of the greatest platformers of all time in the palm of my hands, looking pretty darn good, and containing everything the Wii version has to offer, save for not as many animations on the loading screens to save time. And it still looks phenomenal. Even without the 3D, this is definitely one of the best looking platformers I've ever played. There's just so much going on in the background and the foreground. Audio is fantastic, with lots of environmental sounds to help you get immersed in the environment. Some incredible music. I've been told that there's a lot of remakes of familiar Donkey Kong Country tunes, but again, this was my first one, so I didn't even realize that they were remakes. They meshed in so well with the new tunes that this game's soundtrack as a whole, if I were a Donkey Kong newbie, I'd love it just as much, even without all the nostalgia. So, I would say, if you're going to get it in any form, definitely get it on the 3DS, unless you have a problem with the lower frame rate. Otherwise, either version is a masterpiece. You'd be depriving yourself of an epic platforming experience if you miss out on Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D or otherwise. Anyway, thank you for listening to me talk about this game. Hopefully I'll be able to get to Hyrule Warriors soon once I finish up the too many modes that game has to offer. Again, please let me know in comments or in a message what kind of videos you guys would like to see. And until next time, keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.